Good morning. Yesterday in our previous classes we had discussed allowances and different types of allowances. In our previous lessons we have discussed two important, there are three types of allowances, fully taxable allowances, fully exempted allowances and partly taxable allowances. Out of these three, we are discussed in detail different two types of allowances, fully taxable allowances and fully exempted allowances. Now the rest, that is the exemption limit of special allowances to a certain extent or partly taxable allowances. Today we are going to discuss partly taxable allowances and its different forms. As per section 10 subsection 14(1), special allowances to meet the expenses exclusively to be incurred in the performance of the duties of his office, that we have discussed in our previous lessons. Allowances are those additional benefits or cash to meet the expenses for discharging his official duties. It may be personal duty also. So section 10 subsection 14 or partly, there are two types of partly taxable allowances we have. These two kinds of partly taxable allowances are clearly described here. The first one, that is special allowance to meet the expenses exclusively to be incurred in the performance of his duties of his office. Please stick on the term, the last words of all these sentences. Performance of the duties of his office is an official duty. Simply we can say that a special allowance to meet the expenses exclusively to be incurred in performance of official responsibilities. The second one, that is the same section 10 subsection 14 of 2, special allowance to meet the personal expense. So let us see, there are two kinds of partly taxable allowances. One is for official purpose and another one is for a personal expense. See, the first one, that is when the special allowances are offered for meeting official purpose, these allowances are exempted to the extent to which such expenses are actually incurred. So whatever amount we have received and whatever amount we have spent towards this expense, the difference between these two may be taxable. I will give another example. Suppose we are receiving 100 rupees for any official purposes as an allowance. Out of these 100 rupees, we have spent 50 rupees for these purposes. Then there is a balance 50 rupees. So the difference 50 is taxable. That's the logic. Suppose we are receiving 100 rupees, spend towards this 90 rupees, and the difference, that is 10 rupees will be taxable. Okay, that's the logic behind these kind of allowances. That is partly taxable. The entire amount is not taxable. Whatever amount we have spent towards these purposes is exempted and the rest will be taxable. Then another one, that is for personal purpose, the exemption limit is to the extent notified by the central government. So any allowances which are in terms of personal expense, there are some special provision in relation to these to calculate the taxable or exempted portion. So let us see in detail in our coming slides. See one by one. First one, HRA. You know what is meant by HRA? House rent allowance is a common kind of allowances offered by the government employees in order to meet the expense related to the house rent. As per the service rule, an employee should retain or should resides in nearby 8 km of his office. So for this purpose, government or officers or employers may offer extra allowance to meet the rent of these houses. That's all about HRA. There is a calculation how to calculate the taxable portion of HRA and exempted portion of HRA. It is a probable questions for your exam for paragraph questions. So calculation of HRA we'll discuss in our next videos. Then another one, that is a high entertainment allowance. Entertainment allowance we are discussed in our previous classes. There are two kinds of entertainment allowance. Entertainment allowance first we are included in our gross salary, And then there is if the employee is government in nature or government employee, he can or she can claim deduction under section 16 as an deduction entertainment allowance. Then these are all about the provisions regarding the entertainment allowance, or otherwise it is fully taxable. Then next one, that is hill allowance. We know there are different kind of hill allowance we have. It is also known as hill tract allowance, or hill allowances. While we are going through the hill these allowances, we can see n number of or different types of allowances, just like tribal area allowance, helper allowance, uniform allowance. All these are allowances. Take an example, tribal area allowance, tribal or scheduled or agency area allowance. Suppose we are residing in the place Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, UP, Karnataka, Tripura, Assam, West Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. 2000 per month will be exempted. It's an exemption towards the tribal area allowance. Another one, that is allowance to meet personal expenditure during duty of an employee working in a transport system. Whole India, 70% of the allowance, or 10,000 per month, whichever is less, will be exempted. Another one, that is take an example that a special compensatory allowance in the nature of special compensatory allowance, or high altitude or uncongenial climate allowance, or snowbound area allowance, avalanche allowance. All these are in same nature. Place of residence, that is specified parts of Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, UP, Himachal Pradesh. If the employee is residing these places, 800 per month will be exempted. If the employee is residing in Siachen area of Jammu and Kashmir, 7,000 per month will be exempted. All other places located about 1,000 meter or more, 300 per month will be exempted. Then another one, that is border area allowance, remote locality area allowance, difficult area or disturbed area allowance. All these allowances are exempted up to the limit based on the place where employees are residing. Let us see in detail. Little Andaman Nicobar, Narkondam Island, Lakshadweep or Minicoy Island, Sikkim, specified area of Himachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Jammu and Kashmir, hilly area of Uttar Pradesh. This person can claim 1,300 per month as exemption amount. Installation in the congenial shelf of India and exclusive economic zones of India, 1,100 per month can be claimed as a deduction. Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, South Andaman, this area, 1,050 per month can be claimed as deduction or exemption. Then Aizawl district of Mizoram, Manipur, some area of Tripura, Himachal Pradesh and Jammu Kashmir, 750 per month can be claimed as an exemption. Jogfall in Shimoga district of Karnataka, 300 per month can be claimed as exemption. Himachal Pradesh, other than mentioned above, Assam and Meghalaya, 200 per month can claim as exemption limit for these allowances. Then another one, that is daily allowance. Daily allowance is not a dearness allowance. It's both these allowances are differ. Dearness allowances is the allowances to meet the daily expenses. Daily allowance is an allowance spent for official purposes, and it is not taxable. Then the balance amount, any amount which is spent for official purpose, is not taxable. Rest will be taxable. We are discussed. Then next one, that is traveling allowance. While we are discussing this term traveling allowance, there are different situations we are using. Traveling allowance spent for tour or official purpose, amount will be exempted and the rest will be taxable. The logic behind is, whatever amount we have received towards traveling allowance, out of this amount, how much amount we have spent towards this official purpose is exempted, and any amount as balance after spending will be taxable. Then we are discussed high altitude allowance, etc. Then island duty allowance also discussed in our previous slides. Underground allowance we are discussed. Then uncongenial climate allowances, broader area allowance, allowance to meet expenditure in transport system, etc. All these are discussed in our previous slides. Then children education allowance. Let us see. Children education allowance, that is exempted up to 100 per child per month for maximum up to 2 children. Suppose when an employee receives 200 rupees, he has only one kid or a child, so he can claim 100 per month as exemption, and she or he has to pay tax on 100 rupees. So the logic behind that, any amount which is received as a children education allowance, anyone can claim this up to 100 per month. 100 per month for 2 children, max 100 per month per child, maximum up to 2 children. So he can claim maximum 100 per month per child, maximum up to that is 100 per month per child, that is 100 into 12, that is 1200, maximum up to 2 children, 2400 is the maximum amount towards these children education allowance. Then same as a hostel allowance, we have same logic behind this hostel allowance also, but the amount is different, that is 300 per month per child, maximum up to 2 children. Then the next one, that is academic allowance. Academic allowance, that is any amount which is received for spending towards enriching the academic excellence, any amount research, etc. Any amount which is spent for these purposes or official purposes is not taxable. Any amount which is balance after spending is taxable. These are all the important allowances. The next one, that is compensatory field area allowance. There are different types of compensatory field areas. Suppose this also based on the place where employees resides. Specified area in Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Himachal Pradesh, UP, Jammu and Kashmir, throughout Manipur and Nagaland, 2600 per month can be claimed as exemption. Compensatory modified field area allowance is another different compensatory field area allowance, that is 1000 per month can claimed as exemption if the employee is residing in the specific area of Punjab, Rajasthan, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, West Bengal, UP, Jammu, Kashmir, etc. So the details of this regarding this exemption limit, place of residence, and the types of allowances, I will give notes or PDF format in our. I will give it through the Google Classroom. All of you please go through the Google Classroom. There will be some notes regarding this, detailed notes regarding this. The next one, that is conveyance allowance. Conveyance, any amount which is received as conveyance and allowances is taxable up to the amount of conveyance, any amount which is received towards these conveyances, any amount spent for official purposes is exempted, and the rest will be taxable. And the next last one, that is washing allowances. We know from the term it is very clear what is meant by washing allowance. Any amount received towards these washing allowances, any amount which is spent for official purposes is not taxable, that is exempted portion. Any amount which is kept as balance after spending for official purpose will be taxable. So these are all about exemptions limit of allowances which are grouped into partly taxable allowances. Now we move to the next important area as we are discussed, house rent allowance. We know what is meant by house rent allowance. It's very important. All of you please all of you please take it as a very important. There is some calculation in house rent allowance. So any allowance granted to an assessee by his employer to meet expenditure incurred on payment of rent in respect of residential accommodation occupied by him is known as HRA. Is the meaning of HRA. We are discussed in our previous slide all these things. I will not spend much time for discussing these meaning again and again. All of you please take down this note. It is a probable question for 1 mark question. Then this slide is very important as far as a problem is concerned. While we are calculating the taxable portion of house rent allowance as per section 10 subsection 13A. So as per rule 2A, list of the following will be exempted. So we have to consider these 3 elements or 3 points By comparing these points, we have to read which amount is least, and the least will be exempted. That should we have to deduct from the actual amount received, and the balance will be taxable. Please bear in mind all these things. First one, actual HRA received by an assessee is the first amount that we have to take into note. Any amount which is received as HRA, it may be given in our problem. So take down the first point as actual HRA received. It may be 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever may be. The next one, next element or next point or next rule, excess of rent paid by an assessee over 10% of salary due to him for the relevant period. So very simple point that you have to take into consideration, excess of rent paid over 10% of salary. Any amount which is paid by an employee in excess of 10% of salary as rent. That we have to write down as second point. Excess of rent paid over 10% of salary. So we have two technical terms, rent, salary. So first of all, we have to take 10% of salary and compare actual amount of rent. Any amount is there as excess rent over 10% of salary, that we have to take as a second point. Then the third element, that is there is a 2.1 and 2 that is taken into 1 as third element. 50% of salary or 40% of salary, that is the third element. In different situations we have. First take 50% of salary if the accommodation is situated at Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi, Chennai. Both for these cities are metropolitan cities. Very simple logic. If the accommodation is situated in metropolitan cities, Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi, Chennai, 50% of salary is taken as the third element. Suppose this residential accommodation is situated other than these metropolitan cities, we have to take 40% of salary. That is the next one. 40% of salary, the accommodation is situated in another places. So by considering these two elements, we have one variable, that is 50% of salary or 40% of salary based on the residential accommodation is situated. So we have three elements. First one, actual HRA is received. Second one, excess of rent paid over 10% of salary. Then third one, 50% of salary or 40% of salary in accordance or based on the residential accommodation is situated. So these are the three variables that we have to consider to calculate the taxable portion of HRA. By considering these variables or these three elements or these three limits of amount or these three amounts, we have to compare which one is least. Take down the least and it is exempted, and this amount is deducted from the actual. If there is any balance, will be taxable. This is the logic behind this one. Then another important point while we are calculating the taxable portion of HRA, if an employee is living in his own house or is getting HRA or is living in a house for which he is not paying any rent, the entire HRA received is taxable. Only because of he is not paid any amount as rent of this house. That is the logic. If an employee living his own house and receiving HRA, entire amount will be taxable only because of he is not paid any amount as rent of this house. Clear? Okay, here we are discussed in our previous slides 10% of salary, 40% of salary, 50% of salary, etc. etc. So here what is meant by salary? In our previous lessons we are discussed different definitions for salary at different situations. We have discussed a salary for calculating PF, RPF, recognized provident fund. Then we are defined another salary for calculating transferred balance, etc. I think so. So here for calculating house rent allowance, salary is differ. Here salary means basic pay plus DP DP means dearness pay is always just like a basic pay. Then plus DA. If it is provides as terms of employment or service benefit, or it is calculated for a service termination benefit or a pension benefit, etc. If so specified, will be considered. Otherwise, it will not be considered. Then that's all about the DA, and plus commission based on the fixed percentage of turnover. These three elements that we have to take into one for one as salary for calculating the salary of house rent allowance, or calculating the limit of this house rent allowance. 40% of salary, 50% of salary, 10% of salary. Here salary means basic salary plus dearness pay plus dearness allowance if it is taken as a part of employment, plus commission on fixed percentage of turnover. That's all about the calculation of house rent allowance. I will give some questions through our Google Classroom. All of you please go through the Google Classroom. So all of you please try to solve this problem based on the discussions. If you have any query, please ask me through WhatsApp or any other means you want. Thank you to all.